Hello, and welcome to the Cryptocurrency News Channel. Today we're going to tackle a topic that I often get asked on my streams. I think I've actually done a video sort of like this before, but I've never really fully explained this, and it's going to be how XRP price actually increases and how XRapid helps that. Now, a lot of people actually think that as soon as you turn XRapid on, the massive amount of transactions and volume will automatically increase XRP price. That is not right because it only takes a couple of seconds for an XRapid transaction. Then you can just reuse that money. So you can basically wash trade it as many times as you want in a day. Well, a lot of times. So it take an enormous, massive amount of transactions to actually increase price that way, to squeeze price, and that would actually cause like a kind of like a malfunction or an overload of the system before you really get close. So that's really not the way that XRapid would actually increase XRP price, or XRP transactions would increase XRP price. And this has been mentioned by several people with knowledge on the subject, as well as like Bob Way. He said that XRapid by itself would actually not increase XRP price. It's really market makers holding on to the liquidity because of such that would increase XRP price. He also said that ultimately the price of XRP will depend on retail speculation. If you haven't read that, it's in one of the archives in XRP chat. Those are basically the exact words he said. But retail speculation will determine a lot of the price of XRP, but that's true for almost any investable asset that's not stable. Even if you look at the stock market, which is a much more mature market, that's also the case. Yes, stocks are different from crypto in the fact that there is some intrinsic value to the company, because when you buy stocks, you're actually buying a share of the company. When you buy XRP or VeChain or whatever, you're not actually buying a share of the company. You are just kind of buying their cryptocurrency. And if the company is sold, for instance, and you own a share of the company, you are entitled to compensation of your share of the company, however much or little that is, as a stockholder. If, say, Ripple or VeChain Foundation was sold and you hold their cryptocurrency, you in fact are not entitled to a share of that profit. So that's something that when you buy stocks that you have over cryptocurrencies. Also, a lot of stocks, like I think Apple did give like small dividends sometime in the past, or dividends sometime in the past. So for any non-staking crypto, you don't really have that dividend value. When Apple reports earnings reports and they have earnings per share, they get that dividend, and some people will buy the stock for that dividend value, whatever it is. I know like AT&T gives a set percent of dividends per year, and that's almost kind of like a staking crypto where you get an X percent for staking per year. In the case of VeChain, that's VThor. In the case of Ethereum, once they convert to proof of stake, that will be there as well, although the percentage will be very small. But for a lot of coins like XRP or XLM, there's not that staking percentage. So you are basically holding on in hopes that the price will go up further down the line. And even with staking cryptos, and even with stocks with dividends, and even with stocks with dividends, and where you actually own a part of the company, a lot of that value is still going to be future expected value of that stock, and people just want to buy it from you, partially because of the dividends and the ownership in the company, but also a lot of it because of they expect the price to go up in the future. And that's the same thing with any cryptocurrency. So saying that a lot of XRP's value will actually be dependent on future expected value or future speculative value of the crypto asset is not a bad thing. Don't take that as an insult. It's not really a bad thing. It's kind of like a given for any investable asset. So let's now get back to talking about how XRapid actually increases the price of XRP. So we've already said that just using XRapid, trading back and forth, does not increase the price of XRP. And the way that it does is it will make market makers, such as exchanges, actually hold large amounts of XRP for liquidity purposes. Now, the way the XRapid web is set up is that one place, like one exchange, will buy XRP with their fiat currency and then send that XRP to another exchange, which will then sell the XRP for their fiat currency. And it's kind of like a circulating system. And the entire network works that way, and all the exchanges just trade XRP. So some people might ask, why would they want to hold any XRP? Because it's just an entire exchange system of XRP, and you're just selling and buying. So wouldn't that equal it out? The answer is yes and no, but the no part is the part that's actually going to increase XRP price, because all the selling and buying at different exchanges is not even, especially when you have large amounts of XRapid use. What I mean is, say you have United States and Mexico, Bitso, and let's just say Bittrex. I don't actually know which other exchanges they're going to use for US Mexico. There's not the same amount of money going from the United States into Mexico as Mexico back into the US. Therefore, you have an uneven trade balance in terms of XRP. So the exchange on one end of that trade balance is going to be selling out more XRP than the other side. So the exchange that's actually selling out more will actually have to buy XRP and hold as liquidity, at least for a day or two or something like that, so they can actually service those customers. Because if you don't hold any liquidity, you won't have any XRP for those people to buy to do those transactions. Likewise, the other side will want to hold some liquidity too, not really to sell, but just in case on some day the balance tips the other way, and that could tip at any day. Remittances sent forth, remittances sent back. So because of the imbalance, and that the fact that exchanges, because they don't really trade evenly in terms of XRP flowing in and XRP flowing out, the ones that are more on the flowing outside will not have enough XRP to service their customers if they don't hold a good liquidity pool of XRP. Obviously, the higher the price of each XRP, the higher the price of each XRP, the less XRP you will have to hold in liquidity, because that just represents a larger number of dollars per XRP. So that's actually how it works. Now, how much each exchange pool will have to hold is going to depend entirely on the amount of traffic that's actually coming in from XRapid. So if you have, $1 billion coming in from XRapid each day, then you're going to have to want to hold a liquidity of maybe at least half of that, 500 million per in your liquidity pool, just to service that, or 750 million, or some X percent of the amount of liquidity per day or per month or per week that you would actually need, because you don't want to run out of service. You don't want to run out of liquidity to service your customers due to the imbalance of trade. So that's actually how the price of XRP will be pushed up. It's because of the imbalance of trade between certain countries and certain exchanges. Like there's definitely going to be more money flowing from USD to MXN than MXN to USD, because there's not a lot of people that go to Mexico to work to send money back to the United States, where there's a lot of people that are going to be from Mexico and working in the United States and sending money back home. So on the US side, you would actually be selling USD for XRP. On the Mexican side, you would be selling XRP for MXN. So on the US side, since you're constantly selling XRP more than you're buying XRP, you're going to have a net deficit, and that will actually cause you to buy a large liquidity pool to service your customers. I don't know when they'll actually rebalance those pools and how that pricing mechanism works, but just that demand from certain exchanges to actually hold liquidity will actually drive the price up once there's a lot of volume to be had. Now, I do think XRP honestly needs to be at least 10, 20 billion, maybe even 50 billion volume transactions per day to really significantly move the price of XRP over $1, and we're still very far away from that. And FX trades work in an entirely different way. FX speculation trades work in an entirely different way. Not exactly sure how that works, but in terms of like money send and remittances, corporate payments, that's how the imbalance in the amount bought and amount sold of XRP for various exchanges will have them hold XRP, and the higher price XRP is, the more liquidity they can hold and the more transactions they can actually do. So that's how XRapid and XRP flow actually drives up the potential price of XRP in the future. It's not the use of buying, it's not that really the use of XRapid itself because all XRapid does is buy and trade at the same price at different exchanges. It's the imbalance of buying and selling at various exchanges that will actually drive up the price of XRP in the future. Of course, there's obviously speculating by retail investors and maybe by FIs sooner or later as well. But that's still far off in the future. And the thing right now is we need a lot more volume in XRP for any of this stuff to take place. Now, the reason why I think it will take a very long time for XRP to really appreciate in price and hold that stable price is because Brad Garlinghouse, Corey Johnson, they've said they're going after exotic corridors first because that's where all the savings are, and that's what their plan is for the next couple of years. Those exotic corridors don't actually have all that much volume, especially in terms of remittance volume, and you would have to take over a large significant portion of that before any kind of price move up in XR in terms of the cryptocurrency, because a lot of times, like, you're sending maybe, you know, tens of millions, hundreds of millions a day for the entire region or the entire market, and that by itself will not be enough to drive up the price. So while in the next few years we're still in this phase of we're trying to take over the less liquid corridors, you're going to be depending on a lot of speculation and a lot of financial institution speculation. So that's why I really think it will take many years for XRP to actually substantially hold a higher price of above $2 or $3 if that actually happens in the future. We saw it pump up to $2 or $3 on speculation, but then because, you know, there wasn't really any kind of substance backing up that speculation at the beginning of 2018, it fell back down. And the reality of it right now is that for these smaller corridors, XRP being at 35, 50 cents is actually enough for them to do significant amount of transactions. And we're going to really need to pump up the volume a lot before anything actually happens into the tens or hundred, into the maybe like the mid tens of billions before we see, you know, $2, $3 XRP consistent. So that's how XRapid actually pumps up XRP price, and that's why it's going to take a long time for XRP to achieve a high stable price. All right, that is the news for today. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you and have a nice day.